Hello, my name is Ginger Berg, and I'm a student at Fort Hays State University. And this is my presentation over the case study about a teacher reacting negatively to personnel evaluation. And this is for course EDL 851. In this case study, I am the principal of a school who is recommending that a teacher in my school, Mrs. Stevens, not have her contract renewed due to ongoing issues that I've noted during her observations. The main people involved are Miss Stevens. Her classroom discipline and engagement are very lacking. She has some major issues in this area. She's very resistant to change or even discussing these issues, and she feels she's not being supported or given advice on how to improve. As the principal, I have observed her many times with no improvement, and I do not want her to get tenure due to her lack of improvement. When assessing the legal and ethical issues of this case study, I have come to the following conclusions. No law has been broken. However, there may be a breach of contract. I need to look into our district's negotiated agreement and board policies. Ethically, I should have helped guide her and been more specific on expectations and needed changes up to before this point. As the principal, I need to decide if I will submit my recommendation that Mrs. Stevens' contract not be renewed despite her threat of legal action, or if I will change my recommendation for renewal of her contract, keeping at the forefront that my decision must promote school improvement and student success. I need to evaluate all the facts before proceeding. The people involved are myself, the principal, Mrs. Stevens' students, the other school staff, the school board, and the superintendent. The place and program. This case study had no information on the type of school I'm the principal of, the type of community we're in, the grade level, the demographics, or the location of this school. Upon reviewing the facts, I have reached the following conclusions. My decision could damage school culture instead of promoting school improvement. Student success must be a huge determining factor. The superintendent and teachers union might need to be consulted, and I need to review the negotiated agreement and board policies before I can make a decision. I have arrived at these possible options. I can keep the recommendation that her contract not be renewed with no other action. I can change her evaluation to recommend her contract be renewed with no stipulations. I can change my recommendation to renew her contract, but include formal discipline action in her file and put her on a plan of improvement. Another option is to still change my recommendation to renew her contract, include formal discipline action in her file and put her on a plan of improvement, and revamp my observation, evaluation, and feedback model. Lastly, I came with the option that I can keep the recommendation to not improve, but go ahead and revamp my observation, evaluation, and feedback model. I must analyze the pros and cons of the first option, which is keeping the recommendation that her contract not be renewed and taking no further action. The pros are I would no longer have to worry about her attitude. There'd be no additional paperwork since she doesn't have tenure, and it would be the removal of this teacher should improve school culture. The cons would be it could result in legal issues, and it doesn't address my issue of poor feedback. I would also need to recruit, interview, and hire a new teacher. Next, I must analyze the pros and cons of the second option of changing her evaluation to recommend her contract be renewed with no stipulations. The pros, I won't have to do any paperwork. There's no risk of legal action, and I don't have to spend the time recruiting, interviewing, and hiring a new teacher. The cons, this is not promoting school improvement and student success. It makes it harder to remove her in the future due to tenure, even if she does not improve. It also reinforces a culture of a set mindset instead of a growth mindset, and it still doesn't address my issue of giving poor feedback. Now I'm going to analyze the pros and cons of the third option of changing my recommendation to renew her contract, but including formal discipline action in her file with a plan of improvement. So I would not risk legal action with this plan. It would begin to promote school improvement and student success. It would begin to develop a system for staff improvement. I'd be showing that I'm giving better feedback and it's a little bit more structured. And I still wouldn't have to recruit, interview, or hire a new teacher. The cons, it would still make it hard to remove her in the future if she does not improve. There'd be a lot more paperwork, and it still isn't a comprehensive improvement in my system of supervision and evaluation strategies in order to promote improvement. Fourthly, I must analyze the pros and cons of changing my recommendation to renew her contract, but including a formal discipline action in her file with a plan of improvement and revamping my observation, evaluation, and feedback model. The pro is this is a comprehensive improvement in my system of supervision and evaluation strategies in order to promote improvement. I would not risk any legal action. It does begin to promote school improvement and student success, and I would not have to recruit, interview, and hire a new teacher. Cons, it would still be hard to remove her due to tenure, even if she does not improve. There would be a lot more paperwork, and then the time it would take for me to revamp my system. Lastly, I must analyze the pros and cons of the final option of keeping the recommendation to not renew, but revamping my observation, evaluation, and feedback model. The pros, once again, this is a comprehensive improvement in my system of supervision and evaluation strategies in order to promote improvement. This promotes school improvement and student success. It's easier for me to remove the teacher now due to her lack of tenure in case she still continues to not improve. And I would no longer have to worry about her poor attitude and what it's doing to our school culture. The cons, there is possible legal issues. I would still have all that time it takes to revamp my system, and I would have to recruit, interview, and hire a new teacher. After analyzing all the choices, I chose to keep the recommendation to not renew, but revamp my observation, evaluation, and feedback model. I chose this because by removing this ineffective teacher and her negative attitude, it would promote school improvement and student success. But by revamping my system, I would be providing teaching staff with actionable feedback in order to support improvement. And I would be developing a system for monitoring whether my supervision and evaluation strategies really are promoting improvement. By implementing this plan, as I said, I'll be promoting school improvement and student success by removing an ineffective teacher who is resistant to change. I will also be putting in a plan to provide teaching staff with actionable feedback and develop a system for monitoring to determine if my supervision and evaluation strategies promote improvement. Now that I've chosen my plan, these are the steps that I would take. The first thing I need to do is review the negotiated agreement and school board policies to make sure that I'm not in disalignment with any of those by not renewing her contract. So I looked at my school district's negotiated agreement, and it states I can recommend to not renew without any documentation due to her lack of tenure. I also looked at our school board policies for my district, and it does not contain anything at all about not renewing contracts. I would then also check with the union president and superintendent to ensure that there's nothing I'm missing and there's no risk of legal actions. So I actually interviewed our district's union representative and our district's superintendent, and they both stated that the negotiated agreement and board policies were followed in this case study, so there's no risk of legal actions. I would then meet again with Mrs. Stevens and give her an option to resign in place of me recommending non-renewal, but I would go ahead and recommend non-renewal if she doesn't agree to that. Once I've done that, I would really start focusing on my own system, and I would create a plan to provide teaching staff with actionable feedback. I would make sure it included meeting with them before my observations, setting goals together, collecting data to see their progress towards the goal, make sure I have professional development directed at their specific goal, and follow up often, especially with teachers I have major concerns. I would also develop a system for monitoring to determine if my supervision and evaluation strategies truly do promote improvement. I would need to determine my data collection device and set a goal for our school improvement and determine how I'm going to monitor if we are improving. These are the references. Thank you so much for watching.